Dallas shows almost everything that can go wrong when planning a major event like the 2026 World Cup. The tournament puts the Dallas name front and center, but the stadium has almost nothing to do with Dallas because it is located in Arlington, about 19 miles away. Arlington is the largest American city without a regular fixed-route public transit system. Fans can take regional rail to Centerport, then transfer to special match day buses. Parking prices can reach around $250. Taxpayers also contributed roughly $325 million to the stadium's construction through public bonds. There is a massive stadium surrounded by highways and a sea of parking. Seattle planned transportation before the fans arrived. Lumen Field sits right beside downtown, with a light rail stop directly next to the stadium and another major station just across from it. The trip from the airport is direct and costs only a few dollars. But the smartest decision came long before this tournament. During development, officials formally planned match-day transportation and traffic coordination with the neighboring baseball stadium. The city prepared for two major events on the same day from the start. Pioneer Square also becomes pedestrian-only on match days. You do not just arrive at the stadium, it works like an extension of the city around it. Miami uses one of the world's strongest city brands for Miami Stadium in Miami Gardens, far from downtown. There's no train station at the stadium. Even Brightline passengers need a shuttle for the final leg. Drivers can face parking prices approaching $250. The seriousness of these transportation and access problems became clear during the 2024 Copa America final. Crowding and organizational problems at the stadium entrances delayed the match by more than an hour. A settlement of roughly $14 million followed. Access is more than transit. Toronto took a simpler approach. Use what already exists. BMO Field sits on the shore of Lake Ontario. GO trains and two streetcar lines stop right beside Exhibition Place, the massive complex that also contains the stadium. It is also the smallest stadium in the tournament. Instead of being permanently oversized for a one-month football event, it was expanded with temporary seating. It is not as flashy as a $5 billion stadium, but it makes far more sense once the tournament is over. Union Station is only a short train ride away. In the coming years, the Ontario line will add another connection to the area. Good planning keeps working after the cameras leave. Los Angeles built the most expensive stadium ever constructed, then forgot the train platform. SoFi Stadium cost about $5.5 billion and sits in Inglewood, outside Los Angeles and close to the airport. Metro runs special buses from rail stations on match days. But the transfer from the rail network to the stadium still depends on shuttle buses. Parking prices can approach $300. To avoid interfering with airport radar, the field sits about 100 feet below street level. Redevelopment around the complex has also increased concerns about displacement. Kansas City's stadium at least carries the correct city name. But the correct name does not make asphalt walkable. Arrowhead Stadium sits at a freeway interchange in the middle of a massive sea of parking. The expanded streetcar line does not reach it, and there is no fixed rail connection either. Special buses can carry fans, but they cannot create a neighborhood. This model may have worked for 1970s car culture. During a global tournament, every arrival and every departure turns into one enormous traffic event. Mexico City's Estadio Azteca has something no new stadium can buy: layers of history. It hosted World Cup matches in 1970 and 1986. In 2026, it becomes the first stadium used at 3 different World Cups. It also sits about 7,200 feet above sea level. That gives the venue a physical identity directly tied to the city. Fans take Metroline 2 to Tasqueña, then transfer to the Tren Ligero, which stops in front of the stadium. Reuse also brings problems. Renovation costs reached roughly $180 million, while nearby residents raised concerns about water access and construction disruption. Local support still matters. Boston Stadium is not in Boston. It sits in Foxborough, about 30 miles away, almost halfway to Providence. Boston itself has compact neighborhoods, historic streets, and one of the strongest public transit cultures in the United States. Almost none of those advantages extend to Gillette Stadium. A special train runs from South Station. Everyone else has to deal with Route 1 event buses or expensive parking. The irony is clear. The city whose name is being used is known for walkability, but the World Cup experience takes place beside a highway. Guadalajara's Estadio Akron sits in Zapopan, on the ecological fringe of the metropolitan area. The Mi Macro Periférico BRT improves access. Even so, many trips still require another route, a long walk, or a paid shuttle. The bigger issue is what the city gave up for this land. Development has been linked to pressure on sensitive land and nearby forests. Furthermore, the stadium encourages outward expansion, habitat loss, and new car-oriented development. Atlanta places its stadium beside downtown, major hotels, Centennial Olympic Park, and 2 MARTA stations. The airport connects directly by rail, but this convenient access came with a large public bill. The stadium initially received around $200 million from hotel tax revenue. Long-term public commitments are estimated to be much higher. The cost of the nearby pedestrian bridge also rose from roughly $13 million to $33 million. Meanwhile, Westside residents have raised long-running concerns about displacement. A central stadium can connect perfectly to trains. That does not mean the benefits are shared equally. San Francisco, like several other hosts, is mostly lending its name. Levi's Stadium sits in Santa Clara, about 43 miles south of San Francisco, and is actually much closer to San Jose. VTA light rail stops beside the gates. Fans from San Francisco take Caltrain, transfer at Mountain View, then continue by light rail. During major events, that final line can become overloaded. Public support also continues through valuable tax exemptions. One well-connected station does not make the entire journey easy. Houston offers a strange contrast. The Metrorail Red Line stops directly at NRG Park, and a one-way trip costs only $1.25. Trains reach downtown in about 20 minutes, so the stadium connection is both clear and cheap. Then you leave the station and find enormous open parking lots surrounding the aging Astrodome. Rail access is strong, but shade, housing, street life, and mixed-use development are almost non-existent nearby. Houston is creating a green corridor that links the downtown fan zone to the stadium through public transit and walking routes. Monterrey Stadium is famous for the mountain behind it, but the land underneath tells a more important story. Estadio BBVA sits in Guadalupe, near Cerro de la Silla. Metro Line 1 reaches Exposition Station, and the remaining distance is covered on foot. The connection is usable. The development process was far more controversial. The project used part of La Pastora Park and drew lasting environmental criticism. Monterrey combines dense historic districts, aggressive highway expansion, and harsh summer heat within the same metropolitan area. The mountain view can make the stadium look impressive, but good planning depends on shade, access for everyone, environmental impact, and how the land was used before construction. New York and New Jersey have the most extensive public transit network on the continent. Even so, getting to the final requires relying on a limited and expensive special transportation system. MetLife Stadium sits in East Rutherford, between highways and parking lots. Walking to the stadium is prohibited. Fans travel from Penn Station to Secaucus Junction, then transfer to the Meadowlands train. The special round-trip train ticket was first announced at $150, then reduced to $98. That is many times the normal fare. A powerful public transit network must serve this isolated stadium at a very high cost. Philadelphia accepts that its stadium district is a parking-heavy sports complex. Then it provides a simple and direct subway connection. The Broad Street line runs from Center City directly to NRG Station beside the venues. A normal trip costs around $2.90, takes 14 minutes, and the return trip toward the city is free after matches. The complex still lacks housing, shade, and everyday street life. But the transportation spine is simple, and its capacity can be increased. Sometimes the smartest decision is making an imperfect district easy to reach. 3 ideas keep repeating: build centrally, add permanent connections, design beyond the parking lots. Vancouver brings these 3 ideas together around BC Place. The stadium sits downtown beside False Creek. It is surrounded by housing, restaurants, public spaces, and ordinary city life. SkyTrain stations are only a few minutes away. The Canada Line connects the airport to downtown in about 25 minutes. The stadium has no dedicated parking lot because public transit and the surrounding streets do the work. BC Place previously served the 2010 Winter Olympics and the 2015 Women's World Cup. It showed that one venue can be used again and again. The criticism is the cost. Hundreds of millions in public money were used for the roof renovation. Canada's total hosting bill also passed $1 billion Canadian dollars. Good urban form may not make public spending free, but Vancouver still earned the top spot. Which World Cup city surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments and subscribe for more urban planning content.